Okay.
Right.
I think we're good. Okay, thanks guys for bearing with us. Can you see the first slide? Can you see the slide there, Izzy?
Yes,
oh,
we can.
Terrific. Okay. So how our reforestation projects in Kenya are surviving in the COVID era. I really can't begin to tell you how interesting and chaotic it has been for us to have COVID landing here in the UK and knowing very much that it was going to be dropping into Africa in a matter of time. Once all the other countries started ticking the boxes, we knew it was going to head to Kenya. I think someone has got their speaker on, not on mute. Would they be kind enough just to put it on mute for now, please? Thank you. Yes. Well, let's head through the presentation and we'll tell you. Before we do, however, let's tell you a bit about what Word Forest does, because we've got some people in the audience who are not aware of our work fully. We're a charity. We are just in the start of our 4th year. We plant trees, build schools, facilitate education and support women's empowerment. We take a very holistic approach to the things that we do. We are doing some planting here in the UK, but the majority of it is over in Kenya, and we'll explain why. I'd say the key thing is we're trying to really raise awareness excuse me, of the planetary value of trees. They are so important. Every time I see a protest, you know, someone saying, got to protect these trees, please do sign a petition. I'm the first one there to sign it. We have to look after the stock that we've got, both here in the UK and across the planet.
The team consists of one full-time member of staff who used to be paid briefly, well. Isn't currently paid, but still qualifies as a full-time member of staff. 5 trustees. I'm the chair of trustees, and the others are the lovely Izzy, Helen, Ricky and Phil, most of whom have joined us tonight. And we have 25 volunteers. What it doesn't include here, one full-time member of staff, we're actually employing Jeffa in Kenya as effectively a member of staff. She is paid to look after the mothers of the forest. So it's really one full-time member of staff and one full-time beneficiary.
Yes. Can I just say, Simon, are you able to check? I'm just asking, can you check on there? Is there anyone else due to come in, or would it pop up and tell you? Do you want to just...
I'm afraid I can't tell without coming out of the slideshow.
Oh, right. Okay. So Kenya, where are we? Where are we working? Basically, we've got a spread from one set of our trees that we've planted to the other side of Kenya on the east, to the other side of Kenya on the west, of 790 kilometers, which is absolutely phenomenal. We're planting on the far left, the far right, and kind of in the middle. It's probably fair to say. Our ambition is to be able to take our charity model and plant all over Kenya. If that goes well, I absolutely see no idea why we can't branch into the rest of Africa. We've already had inquiries from Uganda, neighboring Uganda, and actually other places around the world. But keeping it real, keeping it, you know, realistic to our goal, which is planting very near the tropics, very near the equator, this is probably where we're going to concentrate most of our work. Simon.
Okay, well, we have some very large numbers that we can talk about. 147,000 trees is the figure that we can actually point to. The most recent of which, we haven't had certificates yet, but they're the ones that are being planted at the moment. We haven't had the GPS coordinates. We did an analysis of the number of people that we've affected, positively, of course. And that came to 4,899 people. That includes the children that have been through the schools since we started building classrooms. It includes the mothers of the forest and their families. It now includes the people that we are giving food aid to. We have 114 people who receive regular money from the Word Forest organisation, and 40 mothers of the forest who are in education and empowerment. And if you add up the buildings that we've either fully funded or partially funded, then there are 13 buildings, mostly classrooms, but also staff rooms.
Yeah, mostly solid stone buildings as well, I might add. But there has been one emergency classroom which needed to be put up, and we can talk about that later. A roof was needed, and we stepped up to the plate to deliver that. We weren't going to, but we decided we needed to do it when we realised what the situation was while we were there on our second monitoring and evaluation visit. The 40 women in education, I just want to mention that the education that they're receiving, oh, marvellous. Oh, it does come up. Excuse me, the little screen came up saying someone wants to come in. Marvellous. So we don't have to keep going back to that. Terrific. The women in education, yes, it's the women that are over in Boré. The majority of them did not know how to read and write to any great degree, and in fact the majority of them hadn't ever even been to primary school at all. So in year one, while we were focusing on giving people oh, are we still here? Yes, marvellous. Well, we were still giving people, oh, is everything fine, Simon? Are we good? Izzy, can you still see me? Just wave to me, Izzy. Terrific. Okay. Apologies. So much going on. We really need to have another person. We need to be not in lockdown. So the women in education, yes, didn't know how to read and write at all. And in the first year, we spent a long time, obviously, getting people to plant trees, which was wonderful. That was going to be the thing that could help to lift them out of poverty. The commodities from those trees are copious. We have medicines, there's fruits, there's food, there's nuts, there's all sorts of things. But an excess of commodity is no good if you can't count out a money exchange. So in year two, we really focused on delivering reading, writing and maths, basic, simple, straightforward. And the differences to the women's lives has been absolutely phenomenal. And it's really been the cornerstone of everything we've kind of moved on doing in year sort of part of, you know, the end of year two and into year three, and certainly into year four, we're carrying that forward. But it's really important that small line of 40 women in education, they are absolute trailblazers, and I take my hat off to them. Thank you.
Okay. Many people ask, why are we planting trees in Kenya? Why aren't we planting them in Kettering or Dorset or wherever?
We do.
We do plant some in Dorset. We are starting to do that. There's a very simple reason: they grow up to 10 times faster than anywhere else on the planet in the tropics. They have better light. They have just better heat. Things just grow really, really quickly. They get 2 full seasons for growing crops in Kenya, where they can grow stuff really quickly.
Additionally, of course, that speed means that they're able to lock down so much more carbon. So if we just take trees aside for a moment and split them from climate chaos, which of course the two are inextricably linked, you know, climate chaos, it needs us to be planting trees. It needs that CO2 and other pollutants, nitrous oxide and so on, to be sucked out of the atmosphere, locked into the trees. So of course the ocean, yes, the ocean absorbs CO2, but we can't make any more ocean, really. It's kind of at its limit. So what we can do is we can plant trees. Why not plant them in the most efficient place? That's why we put them there. But of course, trees planted in Dorset, as Simon said, the tail end of last year, we planted just under 1,000 trees, 960 trees. I see a couple of the people that we planted them with from local groups are joining us this evening. And yeah, we are going to plant an awful lot more. In fact, we are planning to plant a tree for every citizen in Lyme Regis in this immediate area sometime later this year. And that will be some 3,700. We've done 200 in Lyme Regis already. So another 3,500. So we do it there, we do it here, but mostly there. And that's why. Okay, Kenyan tree planters are some of the most important people on the planet. And I think this is the point where you wanted to cut to some films. It is. If you line the films up, the reason we're saying this, they are absolutely the most important people on the planet. People tend to think of Africa as, yes, it's a great place. Yes, they're struggling greatly. But do you know what? If we go back to that climate chaos thing, it's the people in Africa, it's the people in the tropics who are leading the way in saving us from so many forms of chaos. They really are. The secret is in planting trees, and not just planting trees. You have to look after the people. Word Forest has always been about taking care of the people. And I see lots of charities out there doing lots of tree planting, and that's fine and good. Absolutely, really enormously important. But we have to look after the people, because you've got to give them the things that they need in order to be encouraged to do it. We've got to give them money to do it, because their lives are so difficult. They are literally living on the front line of climate change. And we have 3 short films to show you. One is a little hard-hitting. Actually, they're all hard-hitting, really. One is they're all telling the story of what's going on right now. I'll say no more. Thank you, Simon.
My name is Jefa. I'm based in Garashi, that is in Kilifi County, Kenya. The COVID-19 pandemic has turned an already bad situation into worse, since the community has not yet recovered from the damage the last floods caused. There is an ongoing curfew, and anyone caught outside their homes without a face mask is fined 20,000 Kenya shillings.
We are in a partial lockdown since the first case of COVID-19 was reported on 13th of March. It's been actually 62 days since then. The government announced a curfew immediately after the first case was recorded, and since then we've been on a 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew.
The situation across the country is that the corona virus crisis is rising day by day. People have been advised to keep distance and put on masks. For anyone caught without mask and not keeping distance shall face the consequences for not adhering to the government rules and regulations.
New COVID-19 cases are confirmed almost every day, though we have not had or reported any case in our area, that is Boré. People have been told to wash their hands, to maintain social distancing, and wear face masks whenever they go to public places. Anyone who caught without the mask is to be fined 20,000 Kenya shillings or be imprisonment for 2 months.
Okay, so just coming back from that short film. Thank you, Simon. Just coming back from that short film. Cyprian, who's here with us, his comment there saying that it was 62 days, I think, at that point. That film was recorded just over a week ago. So obviously everything is continuing on. That's the only fact that really is any different. Nothing has changed. It is getting more and more difficult. And this second film, which is a bit longer, will explain what's going on.
Apart from the economy going down due to lack of employment, be it permanent or casual, another major problem we are facing is a lack of food for many. The government has a food aid program going on, but unfortunately it targets just but a few. Many are left stranded, not knowing where to get their next meal or how to source an income.
It's not been easy getting all the essentials. People are really suffering because most people here survive with a daily wage. So it's been tough for Kenyans. And since most of them live below $1 a day, the biggest problem we have here is food. And many citizens are going hungry. So access to food and clean water has been an issue since the COVID-19 happened. Many have lost their jobs, so they're not able to afford that food. And the little food that's available is very, very expensive to afford. So many families are going hungry, and many people go days without having food. Finally, the government is trying so hard in terms of research to get a vaccine. So we hope that things will go back to the normal in the near future.
The biggest problem our community are facing is lack of food and sanitizer and water and sanitary pads for girls, because now they are at home and due to lack of jobs, they are not able to afford them at ease during their periods, so especially to their adolescent girls.
The biggest problem our people are facing is lack of employment. No jobs. All jobs have been locked down, and these people have got no any means of survival. Still, they need basic needs for their families.
There's so many disturbing cases, like this one. I encountered a lady who gave birth on the roadside. She didn't have money, she had nothing, so she had to give birth on the road. She's a mother of 3. Her hubby lost her job, so he disappeared on her. He's nowhere to be seen. She can't afford to pay her rent, so the landlord actually is housing her for free. Then there's another case which this old mama, she's been paralyzed for the last 13 years. She can't access medicine because the daughter who was supporting her lost her job. So we distributed some food stuff to them. Another one was a lady who was working on a security firm. She's asthmatic, so she lost her job. She can't travel to the up country, and because of the partial lockdown, she has no relatives, so she's been sleeping the whole day. Okay, she's so sick right now. She can't move anywhere, so she can't cook. So we donated some food stuff to her. So that's the situation right now.
The families are seriously struggling because their work has stopped, and also people find it difficult to plant trees because they struggle to find seedlings to plant, and for that reason our aim is to set up a tree nursery.
We're just praying that things go back to normal, but the cases are rising. Right now we are talking of 1,000 something, above 1,000 cases with 56 deaths so far, and a few recoveries. So we are hoping for the best.
Someone came to my place a few days back, and this person, his name is Fikiri. He's a neighbor of mine. Fikiri has 3 children, and his wife just had a small baby like 3 days ago. So when Fikiri came to my place, he needed some little help, mainly because he didn't have food. His wife was expecting. He didn't know what to do, and this is a guy who used to work in Malini in one of the big hotels. He's been jobless since this COVID-19 thing started. So I asked him how he's been managing so far, and he told me that he would go to different shambas and work as a casual laborer. But for the last 2 weeks, things have been like so bad. There's been no job at all. People are, even the ones who could give small jobs in their shambas, they don't have the money to pay for people to do that work, so they're doing it themselves. So Fikiri was like, he was so desperate, and he told me that it went to a point where he had to trap rats in his house so that he could feed his children. When the village elders, when the chiefs and the village elders were going around writing the names of the people who can get the food aid, he was one of them who was written down, but so far he hasn't yet gotten any kind of any kind of aid. So he's in a really bad situation, and I feel for him. But then it's happening everywhere. This is just one person, but there's so many who are struggling, especially in terms of food, because right now I'm telling you the prices have hiked like 100%. Something that you could buy for 50 shillings, now you're buying for like 80 or 90 shillings, some even 100 shillings. Another situation is of this girl who has just found out that she's pregnant. And when I asked her what happened, she was like, okay, at home there's nothing, there's no food, there's nothing, so we have to find means and ways to eat. So she got into a relationship with one of these boda guys. Boda guy is someone who has a motorcycle and he carries people for money. So she had a relationship with this guy, and she's now like she's like almost 2 months pregnant, and she hasn't even told her parents. She's really scared. But the thing is that all this happened because of the situation that is around here. Things are like really bad. She couldn't afford, at home her parents couldn't afford to give her, like, even 2 meals a day was a luxury. She couldn't get sanitary towels, she couldn't get soap for washing her clothes, she couldn't get soap for washing her bodies. All those small things that one needs for the daily use is just, it was impossible for her to get. So she opted to have a relationship with someone so that she can get those needs, and now her life is messed up. This is just how that's how the situation is around here, and it's just like 2 stories from 2 people, but there's a lot happening, a lot that is untold, a lot that is unsaid, and it's very heartbreaking.
Thank you for sorting that out, Simon. I did say that one was a bit of a hard-hitting one. It was a bit of a tricky one to put together as well, because there were so many things we wanted to say but not repeat ourselves. But basically all these stories are showing problems there, but they're happening here. The pregnancy thing, I've heard those stories in the UK too. There are unwanted pregnancies that are taking place. Everybody's been squashed into a bubble and told to stay there. And the simple things, the simple answers to that are, over here, we can probably get help and assistance if we need it. Over in Kenya, certainly over in the bush, not a chance. You heard Cyprian mention that most of the people over there, the ones that are really struggling, survive on about $1 a day. $1 a day, it's funny, isn't it? They always kind of quote in dollars over in Kenya. Very rarely they'll quote in sterling, but they'll survive on $1 a day. That won't get them much, but it will get them something. It will get them food to eat. And when you're buying things in bulk, putting aside the price hikes that have gone on at the moment because of COVID, you can do some, you can do some kind of smart buying if you're buying within a community or for an organization. My point being, $1, which is, what's $1 these days? A pound? Less than a pound? Who knows what the prices are these days? It's about 85p. If you were to give me 85p and go, this is all I've got in my pocket, you might think that's nothing. It's actually a potential person's whole day's food. One last short film to show you. Thank you, Simon.
With the financial support from World Forest Organization, I've managed to support up to 10 families. That's around 50 people in this pandemic. Actually, I did it last week when I received the support. Each household got foodstuff consisting of rice, beans, bananas, maize flour, ugali. Ugali is a staple food, and cooking oil, which will last them for 1.5 weeks.
Though we have not been able to work here and there, but through World Forest Organization, we thank God because our people have been at least supported getting food materials and aid that is coming direct from the World Forest Organization. Actually, right now we have been able to support 64 families in Boré area.
The type of food that I have been able to distribute along is maize and rice for food, soap and sanitizer for health protection, with assistance from the World Forest Organization. I have managed to distribute those food items to around 25 households in the community, approximately 175 individuals. It has helped them during the period when the corona crisis is still a problem.
With the support from the World Forest Organization, I've managed to distribute 40,000 each week for 8 weeks, and that is equals to 40 families. The funds help the mothers of the forest to buy things like maize flour, wheat flour, rice, washing powder, and other things that they need to use around the homestead.
I greatly thank the donors for the help. I'm so grateful for the help that you give us. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
So we appeal and thank all the donors through the World Forest Organization for the effort they have done to make our people smile again, even during this awful time of the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is, thank you.
Lastly, lot of thanks to the donors and from the World Forest Organization who have managed our lives stable and ease. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the mothers of the forest and my entire community, I would like to give a very, very big thank you to our donors. Asante sana, be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon, very much. 1,400 people are currently being fed, which is actually the majority of them for the whole month. Some of them for only part of the month. And that has simply been a matter of economics. And at this point, I'd like to hand over to you, Simon. You look after the finances at Word Forest, and I'd like you to be very honest about where we are and how we've had to divert our funds currently.
Yeah, the numbers are quite stark, really. The amount of money that we had in the coffers was going to be enough to start thinking about building a classroom in the not too distant future. We're applying for loads of grants and trying to get money in as quickly as possible.
We haven't qualified for any government money.
We haven't qualified for any government money,
incidentally.
no, yeah.
Just about to say.
I know. Shall we stop presenting for a moment and just go back so you can see us?
Yeah, marvellous.
That's better. So now we're full screen. Hello. So we started to think about this in about the first week of March and think, this is becoming a problem. We need to work out what we're going to do for the people in Kenya, because it is going there, and indeed it has gone there. And my responsibility as I'm the guy that does the finance, was to make sure that the charity had enough money to continue, and our target is supposed to be for 6 months. We did actually make it a lot worse than that for a short period of time, because the need is to send over, just to support the people that we're supporting, around about £3,000 a month. If you can imagine trying to raise £3,000 a month, it can be quite difficult.
In normal circumstances, I would disagree with you, Simon. if we could have our markets, if we could have our fundraising screenings of our film, if we could do all of the usual things that we do, the face-to-face stuff, the talking to corporates, looking to try and see if they want to make us their charity of the year, all these sorts of things, we could do it. We have done it.
Yeah.
But right now, all of the rules have changed. So, and this isn't going to be a please let us have your money. That's not what this is about. This is about explaining to you what's going on. However, it's kind of good for you to see the bigger picture.
Can I just say, it isn't please let us have your money, but if you did want to scan a QR code, that thing up there is a QR code that takes you to our donate page. It's just in case anybody wanted to.
Just in case. Okay.
So far, we've sent slightly more than £6,000 over to Africa, and we're just about to send the load of money for June, which is about another 3. And we can exist until December without going bust.
Yeah,
which is about right. That's 6 months.
Yeah, unfortunately, come then, it's all going to come to a crashing halt. And I'm rather thinking with a bit of anticipation, positive anticipation, that we're going to be able to mitigate it and pull some funds in. So that's not the issue here. The issue is we have constant requirement for funding. We are getting people asking us constantly, can you help with this? Can you put some money in the pot for that? And we are keeping it at a measurable amount so that we can continue to exist for the long term. Kenya didn't go down into lockdown. We went in first. They are behind us in time terms, so they're going to be longer to come out of lockdown at on the other side. And we need to just keep that measured drip drip going through, so we can just keep them keep starvation at bay, basically. Can you go back to the presentation, please? Thank you. Just on the right.
Yep.
Marvelous. Okay, so talking about, we've covered a couple of these things. Why there needs to be such a focus looking after these people, because if these trees are not planted, sorry, these are just a handful of reasons. These are a handful of things that are actually going to take place. Biodiversity loss, I've just realised I put it in twice. I do apologise. That's my fault, that is. But biodiversity losses should be in there twice. It's terrible. Societal breakdown, inability to grow crops. Did you know if it actually reaches a certain temperature, do you remember what that number is?
I don't, but it's not actually much north of where we are.
It's not much north of where the Kenyans are, sadly.
Currently at about 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial average. I think it was about 4.5 degrees, and an awful lot of crops just start to fail.
Well, they won't grow. They just won't grow in the first place. It's not that they'll fail, they just actually cannot grow. That is something we absolutely have to mitigate. And over the last 3 years, we have been trying to plan for what we know is coming. We're environmentalists. We know what's heading towards us. Of course, that's the other thing. You know, COVID is there and it is above us, but actually the biggest existential threat is the one that has been here for a long time. And despite the fact that nobody's talking about the fact that we've had no rain for weeks and weeks, we had nothing in April to speak of at all. April showers didn't happen. It's as dry as you like here, but unfortunately the news isn't reporting it. And I suspect that in other countries around the world, the heat is continuing and the rains are not there either. I do know that the long rains came to Kenya and they were pretty good, but they were extreme and they caused floods, as Eva mentioned in her address. So there's lots of shifting around to be done with our projects. We did have a terrible failure of a brilliant project that we had in place. The Mothers of the Forest had a permaculture garden built by the nursery, by the Boré the main nursery, Boré Green Umbrella main nursery. And yeah, it flooded. It flooded horrifically. And we had to recite, which is a big thing to do for an acre project. We basically had to recite the whole project. And what we're going to use that acre space for is to grow bamboo. This is one of the things that I want to talk to you about. You know, about our plans were never to grow bamboo. Bamboo is not a tree. Bamboo is a grass. It's an incredibly sustainable plant. It's amazing. I mean, gosh, you can use it for all sorts of things, as we know over here. But in Kenya, it really hasn't been a thing that has been grown for industry, for profit, as a crop, as it were. But it could be. And we have done a trial project there for the last 18 months, which has been amazingly successful. So we're looking to grow more bamboo. We're looking to do more things and to shift with the constant changing tides of the weather, as it were, that are taking place over in Kenya. COVID is not going to beat us. For many of you, you're from Dorset. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that it's quite a large third sector here in Dorset, in fact. I had an email, distressing email the other day, saying that it's anticipated that 60% of the charities in Dorset will or have either been mothballed, currently are mothballed, or are going to close in the next 12 months. And that actually reflects a national figure that I also heard stating the same. These were from fairly recent surveys that were done from the charitable sector, from governing bodies that oversee and look after the charitable sector. And this is terrifying. This is charities across the board. It's not going to be us. Over my dead body will it be us. We will find a way to do it. You'll see the mothers. There's a beautiful picture of the mothers of the forest with masks made by Eva. We paid for some material. They're government approved masks, I might add. They have an extra layer. They've got 2 layers and then a pocket, and the pocket on the inside has an additional layer, as if it's not hard enough to breathe out there. But that's the government approved mask, and that's what they've all got. So all 40 mothers, in fact, actually, I think it's probably about 50 people in total, have got masks. It means they can move freely. They can do some things. They can't go very far, not least because it's so hot and they haven't got the physical human fuel to keep them going. As I said earlier, we've been planning for chaos. We knew chaos was going to come. On our last monitoring and evaluation visit, we took over a water expert, a survival expert actually, and he was a water purification expert. And he taught several hundred people how to purify water in the event of a major flood. When we were there in our first year, following 6 years of solid drought, there was an enormous flood. It displaced 40,000 people in the area that we're working. And one of the biggest problems was, of course, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink, not safe, of course, to drink. And he taught them how to take a sort of a 5-litre fizzy pop bottle or a water bottle and add charcoal, sticks, stones, bits of fabric, you name it. Essentially, you pour water in the top, filthy water, and out the bottom, after 5 tip-throughs, will come clean water. And the only bugs that are nasty and left in there can be actually killed by boiling water and then sitting in the sunshine in the pot. So we've been teaching them how to do that. We've been, sorry, I'm doing all hand movements and Simon's saying they can't see me, so I'm waving at you and doing all sorts of things. So yes, that's one of the things. Crop failure, food insecurity, we've been tackling that by introducing permaculture. Permaculture is the natural way of giving people the ability to feed the community in a simple way that doesn't need pesticides, it doesn't need chemicals, the things you've got to pay for. It needs education, and that's what we've invested with the women, with the mothers of the forest. We sent 2 women away for a large course on permaculture. They came back, they taught the 40 mothers who by then could read and write. So they took that knowledge and shared it. And in fact, our project manager, Alex, who has been a farmer for many, many, many years, we've had Alex in tears saying, why didn't we know this earlier? Why didn't we have this knowledge earlier about permaculture? Permaculture is the answer to our prayers. He, this year, recently has come out with a crop of bananas, pawpaw,
Mango,
sugarcane,
yeah.
all things he's never grown these things before, and he now has the knowledge. So we are planning for climate chaos to get worse. We are planning for floods. We are planning for droughts. We are planning for food insecurity and problems with water. And the response over in Kenya is nothing but wholehearted thanks, and what can we do? Let's do this thing. I think we're nearly pretty much at the last few slides. Again, here, just showing permaculture education. The Mothers of the Forest, with their 1 acre of permaculture garden, did amazingly well. They had crops, they did great stuff with. They also planted more than they needed. It's one of the lessons with permaculture. Plant more than you need. Mother Nature's always going to nibble a little bit. That's the way it works. We did, just before lockdown, have a permaculture garden being done. You have to dig and get swains and burls and all sorts, and we were in the process of doing that at Kundeni Primary School. Kundeni Primary School was the first school that we helped to build, and now has well over 600 children there. Well, a 1 acre garden with 600 kids, all active and eager, wanting to learn how to do stuff and being there to pick up the weeds and to do the things they need to do to make those harvests good. I mean, just marvelous. And Kaya School, we've just put in a bid. One of our volunteers focused on finance, also called Eva, interestingly enough, has put in a bid for Kaya School to have a permaculture garden there. This is the answer. The answer isn't just about planting trees. It has to be diverse. We have thought about all the things we need to do, and really we can do them on a brilliant budget. We are a very low maintenance charity with a very wide remit. Just moving on, I think we're almost at the last one. We need your help to stay on top of this. This isn't the point at which I say to you, please get out your checkbooks. Like Simon said, you can if you want to, but there are far more ways that we need you to help us prevent this picture from being a reality in Kenya. If that happens, we are all truly scuppered. So our strategy as a charity, and in fact for any charity anywhere, if they're not adopting a complete digital strategy right now, they will be one of that 60%. They will fold. They will never rise again. They will not be able to. We have changed our approach to everything. Simon is working on some incredible projects that basically allow us to, I mean, this is our first outing of the Zoom, and I do hope it's gone well. Obviously, we'll see you when we see you in a moment when we get to the last slide. But basically, I want this to be the way that we can do talks, we can have interaction. Once the lockdown is finished and we can have other volunteers here to help us, that will be wonderful too. But I don't think we've done a bad job. Subscribe to our news on wordforest.org. See what we're doing. Please spread that news. The bit that we can't do, there's one of me. There's only one of me. I've got a million thoughts, well, not a million, but lots of thoughts a day, and I can't spread them all out. Our volunteers are amazing, and they are working at full pelt right now. But we need you to carry the story far and wide. Please do that. Ask your friends to share this. Share the trees are the key. Watch the trees are the key. Understand why those trees are so critical in Kenya, and understand also, going back to that 85p thing, a quid. If someone was to give us £4 a month, £1 a week, that would make a difference. It really would. £2.50 gets a tree in the ground and buy some building materials for a new classroom. We will get back to planting, doing the classrooms again in due course, but I don't think it's going to be for quite some months, possibly not until the beginning of next year, but we have to plan for that. We have things in our shop. We have a shop. It doesn't have a great deal in there. Right now, we've got an amazing lady designing a beautiful range of images to go on our ethical t-shirts. We only sell 100% organic t-shirts. Again, it's another thing. We don't want to encourage people to buy lots of stuff, but if you are going to buy something, make it ethical, make it sustainable. That matters enormously. Simon recently created an e-card site. If you haven't seen that yet, it is beautiful. ecards.wordforest.org. Have a look at that. Cost you £1 to send one. Well, you couldn't do that with a paper card. you couldn't do that with a pay. What does a stamp cost these
but
days?
If you send 5 in
Yes.
one go, it only costs you 50p a go.
Exactly, £2.50 for the 5. You can see we're aiming at that 250. 5 cards for 250, and they are beautiful. They're page turning. Have a look at them. Please have a look. And more so, spread the news amongst. That's the key thing here. Spread the news to your networks and say, do you know what? Have a look at these people. You could share them. Do it in a second. Do it in a second. Let me just get to the bottom of this. Facebook fundraisers. Now, on Facebook, I've got to say, has been wonderfully kind to us, the charities of the world. It allows charities to have a birthday fundraiser and people to say, do you know what? I don't want any stuff this year. This is my chosen charity. Please put a couple of quid in their pot. We have had some wonderful fundraisers done on Facebook.
Indeed we
and
have.
The best bit about it is they give us every single penny. So please encourage someone, if they've got a birthday coming up, not just a birthday, maybe a birth coming up, maybe a passing, maybe someone in the family has passed, maybe you want to memorialize and remember them. It could be done with a fundraiser to plant a legacy forest. Obviously, we've got legacy on there as well. We'd be delighted if you'd put us in your will, but actually we want you to live for a long time, so it's not going to come for ages, and we need funding now. But it's another thing that you could do. Wood Forest is going to be here for decades. We're going to be a multi-million-pound charity one day, I have no doubt. We're in the early stages. We are not there yet, not by any stretch of the imagination, but we are doing the right things to make that happen. Donations in kind. Recently, we needed a laptop, desperately needed a new laptop. In fact, we do desperately still need a new laptop for our volunteer over in Kent. Her laptop is dead, basically. It's as dead as a doornail. There's not much life in it. And I thought, do you know what, if I could just find someone that had a spare good laptop somewhere that they didn't need or didn't want, that's another thing that you could do. You could say, if you were to be able to look at what we need, you might be able to match up those things. And that's going to come, I think, in our volunteer website. Simon, please talk about the volunteer website.
I will show you the volunteer website.
Ooh.
We've got someone else just joining. I'll show you the volunteer website in a few minutes when we've got to the end of the presentation, as well as the eCards website.
Yes.
They're all linked from wordforest.org. So if you go there, you will be able to get to the others. Volunteer website hasn't launched yet, but it is going to include those really complicated things that only work if you are a volunteer who's coming in here regularly. It's also going to include those things which you can do as a regular volunteer that doesn't come in here, but it's also going to include those things that you might be able to do if you've got 10 minutes spare.
Absolutely.
What can you do? I want to do something for Word Forest. I've got just 10 minutes. What would actually help them? And it is things like sharing on Facebook or other social media.
Absolutely.
Because it's absolutely true that getting seen by people is the most important thing. If we are seen by 5 people, then we're not going to grow very big. If we're seen by 5,000, we stand a chance. If we're seen by 50,000, we stand a very good chance of finding the people who will say, actually, I'll give you a bit more money. I will support you. I will give you something else.
Absolutely. And it really can be £1, £2. That's it. A tiny amount on large amounts of people will make the difference and will get us where we need to be, getting all those trees in the ground. Final slide, I think, Simon. Yeah, reforesting the planet. I made this meme, I think that's what they call meme thing.
Is that you doing the painting earlier?
No, it's not. But I made that an awful long time ago. And it's true, it is a blimmin' hard job. We know we've planted trees over in Kenya. It's a hot, sweaty, sticky job. And we also know that, it's going to take a lot of survival time between now and the time that people can move around freely to get those trees in the ground. Right now, the primary aim is just keeping everyone alive. And it is as simple as that. It is literally keeping people alive. But the tree planting is coming back. It is coming back with a vengeance. Everybody wants to be out there doing stuff. The permaculture garden at Kundeni Primary, the parents that have been able to go there and do a little bit more to kind of nudge it on a bit, keeping their social distancing, that's what they've been doing. We've been receiving countless pledges to plant. That's all they can give us. They're just promises, but they are there in abundance.
Okay. I did promise that I'd just briefly show you the 2 websites. Oh, We have various people coming in here. I need a new tab open. There we go. So e-cards, first of all. I'm just going to show you a card, just in case you haven't seen this. Okay, so here is a card that comes up, and you can page turn it. And that one's blank inside because I think it was just a test that I did. But basically, you can send these cards to anybody, and they will get something that they can move around like this.
And you might say, actually, Simon, on the inside bit where it's a big blank page, you've got
You can write in this sort of font whatever you want.
Yeah.
So this one's blank for your message. I didn't actually know what I was going to get there. So you just go to ecards.wordforest.org. There is actually, I'm going to announce a new venture. We are thinking of doing postcards. So that you can send a postcard from maybe a virtual holiday. If anybody's got any ideas on that, if they think it's a good idea, then do let me know. The other one is the volunteers website, which I will just very briefly show you. And this one is in very early days. At the moment, it's just got a lovely front page.
That might I add, is the Mother's Permaculture Garden. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Things on how you can help. So this donate 10 minutes right now, volunteering on a regular basis, or create a fundraiser.
I think that quote is quite splendid. If our hopes of building a better and safer world are to become more than wishful thinking, we will need the engagement of volunteers more than ever. That's by Kofi Annan, of course, 7th Secretary of the United Nations. And I am hoping that with your kind assistance, we will be able to boost our number. One last thing, anyone that knows the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, they're a blueprint really, by which the United Nations hopes that everybody will be more sustainable, they'll live a better, more ethical life. Word Forest counted up the number of boxes that we're ticking, and actually we're only not ticking 2. That is phenomenal. We're only not ticking 2, and they're on the list. So that's our presentation done. I would like to show a very small thing, if I may, and then we will be open for questions. Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. We have one more video.
We had a request recently from our project manager over in Boré, and I will tell you now, we have fulfilled the money for this. We have paid for this to be done. This is showing you what it was for. Let's just take a quick look at it. Okay, so there we are. If you could clear the deck, Simon, and bring back the people so I can see the faces. Okay, that rather concludes our discussion. I wanted to say about that project just very briefly, we did pay for it. In the nurseries that we have our saplings, basically there were 150,000 saplings that were this big. In fact, they were sort of waist height in some cases. And because the lockdown came in, they weren't able to be planted because everyone was told to go home. And there was a lot of chatting that had to be done with the chiefs and the local authorities to get them to allow that 150,000 saplings to be planted. And it was done. We paid for the whole lot to be done. And we have had 75,000 saplings allocated to us. there were two other organisations that were, it was actually the Welsh Government and Tree Nation, another charity, who were contributing towards it, and we believe we're also going to put some money into the pot. But basically we paid the money that got that in the ground and that paid for the people to have food. In fact, we paid additional money so people could have food, because there was really nothing built into it. And I'm very proud of that. I think that everything that we do is so carefully measured. We really don't spend money lightly. Anyone that knows us knows that to be true. Simon, right at the beginning, said about salary. I haven't been paid since the summer of last year. And that was because there was a flood and Kenya needed some urgent money. And I said, you know what, I can manage, because me managing and struggling is beans on toast. Them struggling is no food. So we manage. And then we got to the point where we were just about to save up to come into the office. So I thought, well, I've managed without a bit of salary, so I'll carry on. I'm still without pay, but I do need to be paid. And I need to kind of reach those wonderful grant organisations who will give us some core funding to do it. If anyone spots a good fund, do let us know, because we've got someone on the case to chase them. In short terms, we just need tiny bits of money in our pot, and we need awareness of what we do as the biggest thing of all.
Yeah, can I just say that one of the things that is giving me massive hope is one of those little numbers at the beginning of the presentation, where we said we've got 1 full-time employee and 25 volunteers. Now, those of you who've been with us from the very early days, you'll know that we've existed as just Tracy and myself doing most of the work, and the trustees helping where they could, but the trustees all have their own responsibilities, and occasional volunteers, getting somebody in for 1 day a week maybe, or half a day a week. Since we've been in lockdown, the number of volunteers who've come forward to do stuff for us has just exploded, and I cannot thank them enough.
God, yeah.
Some of them are in the room right now,
and they are wonderfully talented.
Our lovely trustee is doing the
this is how Kenyans say thank you frequently, and
they applaud like that, like deaf people do. Deaf people do that for applause, because they can't hear that.
No, absolutely.
And yeah, I am just so grateful to everybody who is putting in enormous effort. Actually, that little video that we just showed of the trees was it just turned up. It was Lexi Body, sorry, embarrassing you, Lexi, announcing you by name. She just made that and went, here's a really good thing. She knew about the project, knew what we wanted, and she made it. She's also done other things, as have the other volunteers, and we are just so grateful to them for the help. They are making us be more professional as well. We were doing our best, but I think we've tried to move it on a notch, and that is going to be the thing that saves us from the ravages of this current era and propels us to great things in the near future.
One final thing as we head on to questions, I did have some questions received from people prior to the event. One of them was, and I apologize for having my print out over there, but I remember what it said. It was from a lady called Alison, and she was asking what education we're doing to teach the Kenyans about climate change and environmentalism. Because it's all very well saying, here we are, plant trees, but do they actually understand fully why that's all taking place? The answer is absolutely yes, they do. They have lessons every meeting. They meet twice a month. The Mothers of the Forest meet twice a month. And yeah, Michael Jefwa does reading, writing and maths, but they also come out of that. They have two hours of that, and then they go into their reason for being there, which is to share best practice for looking after the forest. And Eva has led the way in explaining what climate change is. They've seen climate change. They didn't realize what it was because the education isn't reaching them, but through Eva, it absolutely has. Simon, can you let Peter in? Through Eva, it absolutely has. And that, the knowledge, the fundamental knowledge of why they're doing what they're doing is driving them on to doing more and more. And I mean, that's absolutely amazing. So I wasn't aware of any other questions that came in. Did you have any, Simon?
No, we did have some questions as to how to get into the Zoom, but
yes,
We are going to open it up to anybody.
Yes.
Unmute yourself.
Yes.
And I think you can just unmute yourself.
Actually, if you put
And
hands
feel
up
free,
first,
put a hand
and
up.
then yes,
Yeah.
put a hand up, and then we'll
But
choose.
if you're not on video, just unmute and we'll see.
Yeah.
Because I can see everybody on one screen. I've got a very large screen.
Marvelous. So, any questions from the room? I think we've covered it all.
It's going to be a big no.
Okay. Well, then it leaves me with the absolute honor of thanking Simon for putting the films together under great critique from me, from the contributors that had pulled the movies together. We did spend quite some time trying to stitch them together and to give you the broader picture of what's going on and the troubles that are being faced by the most important, really, the most important people on the planet. They really are our saviors. And thank you very much for that. Thank you to all of our new volunteers for everything you are doing to help us. Thank you to everybody that's been to Kenya. I can see 3 people sitting in a line who came with us last year on our monitoring and evaluation visit and helped us enormously to strengthen the bonds between our 2 countries. We have to reduce the educational gap that exists between the UK and Kenya, and we are doing it. We are doing it under Jefwa, Michael Jefwa, Cyprian Ogoti, and Solomon. Sadly, it would have been lovely if Solomon Ogoti could have been in here as well with us. From the west of Africa, right by Lake Victoria, across to Malindi, across to the coast on the other side of the country, we are going at full pelt, and we will do far more. There is so much more we can do, and every share that you give us will get us to that goal. So I'd like to just say thank you very much for joining us. Please give us some feedback on how this video presentation was. It was a struggle to do. You did a remarkable job, and I couldn't have done it. It terrified the life out of me. I was happy writing the presentation, but it's all good. We are a team. In Kenya, one of the loveliest phrases that I use in my head a lot came from Alex. Alex Katana taught me this, and he said, Fuamwenga. Fuamwenga means together we are better. We are better together. And that is absolutely true. Fuamwenga. Thank you so much for all you're doing to help us to sort climate change out and to help people rise up out of poverty and to keep going. God bless you all. Oh, Yvonne. Now it's time for me to go and cry. Thank you so much. Good night.
Oh, we have somebody in chat.
Oh, we do? Oh, my.
People saying thank you.
Oh, bless you all.
I was just going to say, we do need an opportunity to just say if anybody's there. If anybody has missed some of this, we are supposedly recording it. We don't know how well that works with the video, but if it's worked okay, it will probably be up on YouTube.
Yes.
There's a lot of ifs and probablys there.
We hope.
If not, then we'll just do it all again.
I'm exhausted.
Maybe rebooting the router and making sure it's going at lickety-spit speed. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
And if you're wondering why I'm in twice and one of me is static, it's because I've had to have another computer on just to monitor what's going on.
You are such a geek.
And a little thanks to our own Alex, to Tracy's eldest son, Alex, because he's the one that provided the green screen that's making this work.
Indeed he is.
Because he doesn't use it anymore. So
good night,
everybody. Me for the green screen, we'd have been sitting in an office. You wouldn't want it.
No, that would have been dull.
Take care.
Bye. All. Thank you so much.